On the 42nd floor of Whitmore Tower, where the glass walls reflected a world built on precision and privilege, Rachel Whitmore realized something was wrong the moment her assistant's voice cracked. "Rachel, you're interviewing the wrong man." Across from her, Ethan Carter stiffened, fingers tightening around the frayed strap of his backpack as if it were the last piece of dignity he owned. "I didn't mean to waste your time," he said, low and steady, though panic flickered in his eyes. "I'll leave." But Rachel didn't look away. Something in the way he braced for humiliation, like he'd survived too many moments just like this, cut through her usual steel. "Sit," she said quietly, stopping him mid-step. "We're not done here." The room shifted. A billionaire CEO breaking protocol for a man who was never supposed to be in her office. One crack in the system, and everything inside Whitmore Tower began to tremble. What unfolds next will turn this mistake into the most defining decision of her career. If this opening pulls you in, subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more gripping human stories. The moment Rachel told Ethan to sit back down, the tension inside Whitmore Tower thickened like a storm pressing against glass. Outside her office, employees pretended to type while stealing glances through the transparent wall, tracking every shift of Rachel's posture as if each breath signaled a change in company policy. Inside, Ethan lowered himself into the chair, shoulders tight, eyes fixed on his backpack on the floor as if stepping too far into this world might break something valuable. Rachel kept her voice steady. "Tell me," she said, "why did you apply for the support role?" Ethan paused. "Because it was the only job I could take without risking Lily's schedule." His fingers twitched, almost forming a shield over his knees. "She's 7. Some days she needs me more than I want to admit." Rachel studied him. There was no plea in his tone, no apology for being a father in a place that rewarded people who had no lives outside these walls. She asked him another question, then another, and the conversation unfolded not like an interview but like the surface of someone's life finally being allowed to breathe. When he left that day, the whispers began before the elevator doors even closed. By Monday, the building felt different, sharper, hungrier, watching him the way a crowd watches a performer who hadn't been invited on stage. Ethan walked in at 8:58, exactly on time, but people noted the frayed backpack, the simple shirt, the careful steps of someone who didn't want to inconvenience even the carpet. He took the workstation assigned to him. Not a word of complaint, not a moment of hesitation. He learned the systems quickly, his quiet focus filling the space with something unexpectedly calming. And yet every achievement, every fix he made, became fuel for side comments delivered behind half-closed doors. On Wednesday, he reorganized the entire supply system that had frustrated the coordination department for months. His manager, Tom Willis, walked past without acknowledging it, though Ethan saw the man scrunch his mouth before muttering to a coworker. "Basic work. Nothing impressive." That night, Ethan sat at his desk alone, the building humming faintly around him. He pulled out Lily's drawing from inside his backpack, a tiny stick figure holding the hand of a bigger one, labeled, "My Dad." Her handwriting bent slightly to the right, soft and careful. He exhaled, folded the paper, and set it beside his keyboard. The gesture steadied him. But the building around him was far from steady. The first real shock came on Friday with Brennan, the impatient, sharp-tongued client whose temper could scorch an entire team in one meeting. When Ethan stepped toward him, the receptionist looked ready to faint. "Sir," Ethan said, calm and even, "let me help fix this." Brennan's eyebrows lifted. "Who are you?" "Someone who can solve the problem," he replied, and something in his tone, steady, unflinching, respectful but not afraid, made even Brennan pause. 5 minutes later, the conference room was cleared, refreshments arranged, and Brennan escorted precisely as promised. The man left the building smiling, something Rachel hadn't seen in years. But victories only expose deeper fault lines. The following week, when Lily fell sick, Ethan left early without dramatics. It was a simple act of responsibility, yet by the next morning, the office buzzed with distorted versions of his absence. "He's getting special treatment. He barely belongs here." He's using his kid as an excuse. The comments slithered through the halls, always quiet enough to deny but loud enough to bruise. And Tom, his supervisor, didn't hide his irritation when Ethan arrived 15 minutes late 2 days later, shadows carved under his eyes. "Not acceptable," Tom said, arms crossed. "This isn't a daycare." Ethan felt the words land with cold precision. But he didn't argue. He simply nodded. "I'll do better." Rachel, however, heard the echoes of those words through the walls, and something inside her drew tight like a pulled thread. Her breaking point came that Friday. She walked past a small meeting room and overheard Tom's voice. Sharp, clipped, almost rehearsed. "You don't get exceptions here, Carter. Everyone else manages to show up. If you can't commit, maybe this isn't the place for you." Ethan sat across from him, hands folded, expression still but wounded beneath the surface. Rachel stepped through the doorway so quickly Tom jolted upright. "What exactly is happening here?" she asked, her voice so cold the room seemed to contract. Tom straightened his tie. "Just a performance review." "He needs to understand the standard." "The standard," Rachel replied, "is competence and integrity, both of which he has demonstrated more consistently in 2 weeks than some people do in a year." Tom flushed. "Are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything," she said. "I'm stating facts." When Ethan stepped outside at her request, Tom's facade cracked. "Rachel, he's not like the others. He doesn't fit." "Fit what?" she asked sharply. "Your comfort zone. Your assumptions. Or the idea that a single father without a polished pedigree shouldn't outperform you at basic leadership." Tom looked as if she'd slapped him. "You're defending him over your own management." "I'm defending fairness," Rachel said. "Something you seem shockingly unfamiliar with." She left him speechless, and by the time she reached Ethan standing in the hall, her anger had cooled into something sharper and far more protective. "You're not the problem," she told him. He inhaled slowly. "It doesn't feel that way." "That's because people like Tom think struggle makes you weak." "Doesn't. It makes you dangerous to people who've never carried anything heavier than their own ego." Ethan blinked, startled by her bluntness. But the truth resonated. For the first time since joining, his shoulders eased. The culture around him began shifting, subtly at first. People approached him with questions, work requests, quiet apologies. Sarah, the client services associate, was the first to openly tell him, "I judged you wrong." He nodded, appreciative but humble. He never asked for validation. He simply welcomed sincerity when it arrived. But Tom watched all of this with simmering resentment. One afternoon, Ethan found Tom rifling through his workstation while he was in the break room. His backpack was open on the desk. "What are you doing?" Ethan asked, voice strained. Tom didn't flinch. "Making sure you're not bringing personal issues into work. You went through my things." Ethan stepped forward, breath unsteady not with fear but with something sharper. Violated pride. Tom smirked. "Maybe if you acted like a professional." The door behind them opened. Rachel stood there, eyes instantly locking onto the opened backpack, the scattered papers, Ethan's shaken stance. "Tom," she said softly. Too softly. The kind of softness that preceded consequences. He straightened. "Rachel, I was just invading an employee's belongings," she finished for him. "It's company property." "That bag clearly is not," she said. "Nor is the drawing you're stepping on." Tom glanced down. Lily's drawing lay under his shoe. Rachel's voice dropped. "Get out of this room." Tom scoffed. "Are you firing me over him?" "No," she said. "I'm firing you for being exactly the kind of leader who destroys good employees." The office erupted when security escorted Tom out minutes later. Some watched in shock, others in quiet satisfaction, but Ethan simply stood still, processing the surrealness of justice delivered with precision. "Thank you," he said when Rachel approached him. "You don't owe me thanks," she replied. "You deserved better from the beginning." Weeks passed, and the shift inside Whitmore Tower became unmistakable. Ethan's station grew into a hub of collaboration. People asked for his help because they trusted him, not because they were told to. He solved problems quietly, quickly, and without seeking credit. He became a center of calm in a place built on competition. And Rachel found herself changing too. She stayed later, not out of obligation but out of a renewed sense of purpose. Watching Ethan navigate challenge after challenge with dignity forced her to confront the coldness she once wore as armor. One evening, long after the sun had dipped below the skyline, she found Ethan packing up his things. The office was dim, lit only by the glow of screens on sleep mode. "You handled today well," she said. "I'm just doing the job." "No," she corrected softly. "You're redefining it." He paused, the weight of her words settling on him like something warm and steady. As they walked toward the elevator together, the silence held an unexpected comfort. Ethan stepped inside, then turned to her. "I know this wasn't part of your plan," he said. "Hiring me." She met his gaze. "Maybe not. But sometimes the best changes come from the things we don't plan." The elevator doors closed, and Rachel remained standing in the quiet hallway, realizing she believed every word she'd just said. Downstairs, Ethan stepped into the lobby where Lily waited in her pink jacket, waving the moment she saw him. He scooped her up, laughing under the soft hum of the building's lights. From a distance, Rachel watched father and daughter reunite, an ache of unfamiliar warmth settling in her chest. For once, Whitmore Tower didn't feel like a fortress. It felt like a place capable of protecting something good. But not everyone had learned that lesson willingly. Tom's termination sent shockwaves through the company. Word spread that he had attempted to challenge the firing, only for HR to reveal a pattern of complaints against him, all ignored until now. Rachel made sure every voice previously silenced was heard. She reinstated lost holiday hours, corrected unfair evaluations, and ensured that Tom's actions could never be repeated by anyone else. By the time corporate headquarters reviewed the case, Tom's reputation collapsed under the weight of his own choices. He wasn't just fired. He was blacklisted from every firm under the Whitmore Group umbrella. His emails bounced. His calls went unanswered. And when he tried to apply elsewhere, references confirmed the truth. He had violated ethics, privacy, and leadership expectations. The last rumor Rachel heard was that Tom had taken a low-level temp job in a warehouse across town. Fitting, she thought. He had spent years stepping on people like Ethan. Now he'd spend years lifting boxes he once thought he was too important to touch. Justice, delivered with quiet precision. And with Tom gone, the company breathed easier. People collaborated more. Tension loosened. Even the break room felt warmer, filled with conversations that didn't hide bitterness. One afternoon, Rachel walked past Ethan's desk and saw Lily's drawing pinned neatly to the divider. Two stick figures holding hands, standing under something that might have been the sun or a giant yellow balloon. She paused, smiling before she caught herself. Ethan noticed. "She asked me to put it there," he said. "Says it's good luck." Rachel nodded. "I think she might be right." He looked at her for a moment, something unspoken passing between them. Gratitude, respect, the shared knowledge of what it meant to fight through unfairness and still stand tall. And then, just as naturally, they went back to work. Outside, the city pulsed with noise and movement. Inside, Whitmore Tower settled into a new rhythm, one shaped not by fear or hierarchy, but by the simple, powerful force of doing what was right. Yet the story was far from over. Because the moment Tom tried to retaliate, something happened that would change everything again. In the weeks that followed, something subtle but unmistakable settled over Whitmore Tower. People didn't walk on eggshells anymore. Conversations carried a warmer tone. And every morning when Ethan took his seat, the room seemed to steady itself around him, as if the place finally understood the value of someone who showed up without asking for applause. Rachel felt it too. She caught herself pausing at his desk, listening not to his words but to the quiet resolve beneath them. He hadn't set out to change anything. He simply refused to bend to the small cruelties that others accepted as normal. And somehow that honesty reshaped the space more effectively than any memo she had ever written. One evening, long after most employees had gone home, Rachel stepped into the lobby and found Ethan waiting for Lily. The girl ran into his arms, her laughter echoing against the marble floor. For a moment, Rachel saw not an employee, not a symbol, but a father carrying the weight of his world with grace and winning. As the doors closed behind them, she realized the company hadn't just corrected a wrong. It had become a place capable of choosing kindness over convenience. A place she could finally be proud to lead. And that is the heart of this story. Change begins quietly, with one person brave enough to stand firm in the truth. If this journey moved you, tap like, share the video, and help Canada's heartfelt tales grow by subscribing today.